My name is Gregory Weeks, and I'm a historian, and I've lived in Austria for 23 years and Vienna for 20. Anschluss in German means connection or annexation, and it was the annexation of Austria by the German Empire, which at the time was controlled by Adolf Hitler, who had become Chancellor in January of 1933. And what happens during the Anschluss is German troops invade Austria, basically just before they're going to have a plebiscite to vote on whether Austria should stay free and independent of Germany. Well, lots of people supported the Anschluss. I mean, there was widespread belief in the population that there should be a greater Germany, a German Austria, meaning that, Austrians and Germans should be together in one country. And this goes back to the period really prior to the First World War, and it comes up again after the First World War and does not go away. And it's actually the Austrians who originally want it, not the Germans. So it takes an Austrian going to Germany, Adolf Hitler, to finally make that happen in March of 1938. The main thing is all the politicians who opposed unifying with Germany. These people who opposed it were politicians, were put on a transport to Dachau on April 1st of 1938, which left from the West train station here in Vienna.
No, I mean, we lost a lot of the intelligentsia, a lot of Jewish, brilliant people emigrated, were killed, so as a nation, when you say Austria, of course, it started with a new Austria. Born and raised in Vienna, I'm 45, and grew up here and then lived for many, many years around the world.
Yes, and in fact, the identity before 1945 is we are all Germans and we should be together in one empire. And after 1945, we are not German. We are Austrian, and we have our own cultural concepts, music, art, literature. We're a nation of culture. And so after 1945, that's what Austria has promoted: tourism, culture, these sorts of things.
I always found the main difference that I see is the culture you're born into. Of course, Germany is a little more, slightly heavier, mainly also because of their experience in the last 60 years, 50 years, 100 years actually. And the language is more, it has a different richness, has a different vibe. But the difference between Austria and Germany, I don't see a big difference. No.
It was very good for Austria to believe that it was the first victim, because after the war, Austria is only a small portion of the former Austro-Hungarian Empire. And if you believe that Austria is a cultural nation, Mozart, Beethoven, art, right? And Austria did a huge job of promoting this, and sort of the pinnacle of that was in 1964-65, where they made the movie The Sound of Music, right? Which showed all Austrians as being opposed to Hitler and the Anschluss, which certainly wasn't necessarily the case. Right? So it worked out very well for Austria to show that it was the first victim of fascism. I think basically the idea was more Austrian history stopped in 1918 with the fall of the Habsburg monarchy. The Military History Museum here in Vienna until a few years ago only went until 1918. And then they expanded the collection. That was under the director Manfred Rauchensteiner, Professor Manfred Rauchensteiner. And he expanded the collection to include democracy and dictatorship in the museum, which brought Austrian history forward until 1945.
The nation of Austria, the nation, I would think 55, the way it is now. Yeah.
The monument behind me is the Monument Against War and Fascism, which was done by sculptor Alfred Hrdlicka. And Hrdlicka, of course, was very opposed to fascism and the Nazi regime. And the monument has three parts, right? There is the Stone of the Republic, which is all the way in the very back, with names of founders of the Republic after 1945. Then there's the street-washing Jew with the barbed wire on his back. And then there's the front part, which shows the crimes of the Nazi regime, right? Tortured prisoners, soldiers with gas masks, contorted bodies, and that's what you're seeing. What you see here is an eagle on the outside of the Imperial Palace at the center of Vienna, which was put up after Germany annexed Austria. And originally the eagle had a swastika in its talons at the bottom, and that was removed after the war.
What I know, it is an anti-aircraft tower. There are always two of them. One for the technical things, just where the flights, the aircrafts are. And this one is the one with the guns on top. I think it's a 12.6 centimeter aircraft gun, anti-aircraft gun. As far as I know, they were built in 1943, all over in the so-called Third Reich. And it's still there because there is too much steel in it. The Russians tried to explode one of them in the other area, but nothing happened. It's there. I'm living here 27 years now. I grew up with them. It's there, okay, it's a part of our history. It was not a good history for Austria and Germany. I don't have really a problem with it. It's part of our history. If we want or if we don't want. That's the point.
Being an Austrian, it's a mindset. Because you could live here and decide, hey, I want to be Austrian. It's like if you live in New York. I personally think the whole national thing is a little crazy. We're all one, and some are lucky, have been born in Austria, some in New York, and some in Bangladesh. But at the end, we all want the same, more or less. It's a pleasure.